Coming up in this episode, we have consoles at the Carboot, consoles in the charity shops, even more consoles in the charity shops, and dinosaurs.
Pick up! Building the games room! Bush trips! Live game hunting!
Hello again folks, welcome back to another live game hunting episode. And whilst I really enjoy heading around the UK on road trips to various game stores, CX stores and charity shops, sometimes it is fun to keep it local. And that's what we're doing in this week's episode. We are keeping it local, hunting in my own backyard at charity shops, Carboots and the local recycling centre. Even when you're hunting in your own local area, you never know what you're going to find. And you will be amazed at some of the stuff I found this week just on my doorstep. We are talking consoles, retro games, and even dinosaurs. Let's get hunting. Just before we head out there, I just want to remind you folks, if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and please subscribe, as I put new videos out every Saturday live at 5, as well as bonus content throughout the week. I really want you folks along for the ride. Now, let's head to our car boot, but this time on a Wednesday, and answer the question, midweek car boots, are they really worth it? Here we are then, bright and early on a Wednesday morning this time for the Arming Hall car boot. And here is the thing, the midweek car boot can be very hit and miss. The weather didn't look fantastic for today. Thankfully it is dry, but you can see here it is a little sparse. It is nowhere near as busy as it normally is on a Sunday. It's normally all the way to the end of this field, but just because the car boot's small doesn't mean we're not going to find anything. So cross your fingers, let's hunt for retro at this awesome car boot. Let's get stuck in then, a big box of DVDs and hopefully some games hiding in here as well. And straight away we found some Splinter Cell and a couple of these Xbox 360 demo discs. And a copy of Modern Warfare 3, which trades into CX for about £1.50. I think I managed to get these 3 discs, so 2 demo discs and a copy of Modern Warfare for £1, which ain't too bad a start. And we got a little bit of credit built up to spend in CX. So on to the next one. When it comes to building up that CX credit, one of the best franchises is the Call of Duty franchise. If you can get these at a decent price, you can normally trade them in for decent credit. So let's see. At the beginning of the day, he'd been selling these games for £5 each, which I think is a little bit overpriced, especially for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. World at War maybe, but not for Modern Warfare 2. Sadly, I did pass. Some of these did look a little bit scratched. It's not too obvious there, but this is the thing, you have to know the value of the games to trade them in. This was kind of cool and I was quite tempted to pick up this copy of Tetris Duel, but I did decide to pass it because it is a little bit of a large item and it is getting harder and harder to fit things in the games room. One of the main things when you go to the car boot is hunting through boxes of DVDs. Normally there is nothing there, but you never know when you're going to find a gem or some hidden video games. It's part of the parcel of going to the car boot. You have to look through these. I've never seen this version of Resident Evil before. It's like a weird, I think there's so many different copies of Resident Evil. This PlayStation DVD demo disc was quite tempting, but I do kind of prefer the playable demo discs. I did check, the disc was alright, but this is the thing with the car boots. Most of the time when you are hunting, this is what you are going through. Boxes and boxes and boxes of DVDs. Normally absolutely nothing there, but the thing is with a car boot, you just never know and you have to look. And this, my friends, is why you dig through these boxes. You can see here some Wii games, pretty cool Spider-Man game. Definitely going to pick that one up, boxed complete, looking in very nice condition. Some more general Wii games, some random electronics, a PlayStation 3 game, nothing too interesting there, but coming up, I'm going to keep pulling stuff off it, is this retro console. Now, this isn't one of those cheap plug-and-play ones. This is a Retron HD. These are absolutely fantastic kind of modern versions of original consoles. So this plays all your original NES games. You just plug them in the top. It's essentially like having a brand new NES console which has HDMI connectivity. And the thing is, another fantastic tip when you go to the car boot is try and build a bundle. So you see I've got the Retron here, and yes, here this gentleman is pointing out to me, this is multi-region as well, which is an absolute bonus. I picked up this Switch controller as well. No idea if it works, we'll have to find out when we get back to the games room. Same with the Retron HD. This is one of the things, I will try and bundle items together, to get the best price, because as well, at the end of the day, you don't know if these things are going to work at a car boot. You do have to take people's word for it. I did pass on that quite ugly PlayStation 4 controller, but I managed to build myself a nice little bundle here. We got a Retron console, a couple of Wii games, that Switch controller, and all of this bundled together was £15. And this is the thing, this is the main find from the car boot today, but it made the entire day worth it. All of this for just £15, fingers crossed, it's all working. Carrying on, and this is pretty cool, it's kind of like a Pokemon card game starter pack. Obviously you're not going to get anything rare in here, and obviously the other thing is you want to make sure it's fully complete. It did look kind of complete, but I did pass on this one because the cards are so incredibly common. But if you are looking to actually start playing the Pokemon card game, it's a great place to start. And speaking of Pokemon cards, on the very next stand, next to Minecraft merchandise, was these original Pokemon cards. Now these were the original release cards, but they were £1 each. And correct me if I'm wrong, even though these are the original cards, I couldn't really see anything too rare here, so I did pass. I think £1 each is pretty much overpriced. Moving on, and one of the single largest collections of VHS tapes of the car boot I've ever seen. If you were a Disney VHS collector, your luck was absolutely in today. But this is the thing about the car boot, you just be wandering around, seeing somebody you haven't seen for absolutely ages, like an absolutely massive collection of VHS tapes, and then 2 or 3 stalls later, there's even more VHS tapes. I'm sure the universe is trying to get me to collect VHS again, but I must resist. Remember, Dan, resist the urge to collect them. A little further on, and we finally have a large amount of video games, but quantity doesn't necessarily mean quality, as sadly most of the games here were very, very common. A lot of Blu-rays mixed in, and just nothing really here. This kind of strikes me as somebody who's kind of trying to clear out all of the unwanted games from bundles, which is really great if you're just starting to collect. You could like add loads of really cheap games to collection for relatively cheap here, but there was literally nothing I needed here. Considering there was like 3 absolutely huge boxes, this was super surprising and a little bit disappointing, but we carry on. Back on the CX credit hunt, and the Just Dance games and the Lego games, even on the Wii, are an absolutely fantastic way to still build up some credit. 50p each on these, so a little bit more in credit. It's not going to be massive amounts, but this is the thing about the car boot. If you can pick games up cheap, sell them for twice as much, it's all about the hustle, building that CX credit. Coming to the end of the car boot, but you never know what you're going to find right at the end. And again, here we have an absolutely huge box of games, so let's start making ourselves a little bit of a bundle. I have a general rule when it comes to Wii games. If it looks reasonably interesting, or I've never seen it before and it's cheap, I will pick it up. Same as the CSI games, because they're really good for achievement hunters. I wouldn't call myself a hardcore achievement hunter, but I have got quite a high gamer score. It's over 100,000, let's just put it that way. And I always scan some of these older sports games because some of them are randomly more expensive than you'd expect, and also Call of Duty Ghosts. So here I am building myself a bundle. Now, spoiler alert, I didn't pick up any of these games as I asked how much they were, and I think they were all £2.50 or £3 each. They didn't want to make a bundle, which is absolutely fine, so unfortunately I did pass on all the games in this box. So that was basically the Wednesday midweek car boot. It wasn't great, but I think that £15 bundle with that NES console just kind of made it all worthwhile. I'm just having a little poke around here at these random toys. Out the corner of my eye, I see this WWF Attitude Wrestling entranceway. This is the kind of item it's tempting to pick up, but it didn't seem to work and it would have taken a lot of space. But let me know in the comments down below if you would have picked this up. Overall, the car boot was worth coming to today. I always enjoy the car boots regardless of what I pick up. Now let's head on to one of my other favourite local areas to hunt, the local recycling centre. Our next stop then is the recycling centre, and you may be thinking this isn't the usual recycling centre I go to. That is because there was actually 2 of these in Norwich. Now I never knew there was 2 of these recycling centres until a viewer of the channel actually told me this when I was at the car boot buying some games off them. So straight in you can see we've got some interesting add-ons for consoles, some guitar amps, and this like pretty weak looking Xbox. And yeah, this place is very similar to the one the other side of the city. There's loads and loads of stuff, but there's obviously one thing we are mainly looking for, and it is video games. And here they are up here. Now, unfortunately, on this first visit, it was mainly Wii Fit, some EA actives, a lot of FIFAs, a lot of LMA games. Nothing really to write home about, but as soon as I've been once, I'm going to go back again. So a few days later, I headed back, and this time I found this copy of Resident Evil 5, and it is the gold edition for the Xbox 360. And I always try and get these gold editions or Game of the Year editions of games so you can get the complete game with all the DLC. But there is a slight problem with this. So it says on it, the Ultimate Resident Evil 5 Collection. Stick around to the end of the video, I'll tell you why it's not. So I didn't have massive amounts of luck with the other recycling centre, so let's go back to the old classic. And straight away, we have some steering wheels here, like complete in the box. And I'd like to pick more of these up, but they do take up a lot of space, so I did pass on these ones. But let me know in the comments down below if you'd have grabbed these. So heading on to the game section, and full disclaimer, this is a selection of pickups from over a couple of week times. So it's just loads of Wii games. Also, I think we've got the classic Wii Sports and also the Simpsons game for the Wii. Again, two games that are absolutely fantastic to trade into CX for that trade-in credit. We're off to a good start then, £14 in CX credit off just two pickups. But this is what you love to see. It looks like the DVD and game shelf has just been restocked. There's a ton of box sets, and this is one I've traded in a few times in the past. Unfortunately, its value has gone down quite a bit, so it's not really worth picking up. Now remember, all of these games are £1. That includes PlayStation 4 games, even if they are FIFA. Now here is a game I've been looking for a while. Dog's Life for the PS2, a incredibly weird game. Lego Star Wars, pick that up. I normally pass on these like SingStar games because they are really not my jam, but games like this, games I've never seen before. Hysteria Hospital, picked it up for £1. Wii Fit, wouldn't pick it up if you gave me £1. Bust a Move, an absolutely fantastic puzzle game. Cooking Mama, one of the most fun games you can have with motion controls. Couple of Xbox 360 shuffle games, unfortunately, but this is the thing, you never know when you go into a place like the recycling centre what you're going to find. Games like Home Alone, never knew this existed, for £1, I'm going to have to grab it. There we go then, not too bad for 5 minutes work. We've got a nice little bundle of games, remember, all £1 each. 8 games here, £8, some brilliant titles to add to the collection. If only every visit could be this good. This is a real problem for me because I have terrible FOMO. I go to this recycling centre multiple times a week, and most of the time you will genuinely find nothing. Nothing would have changed, nothing would have been donated, and it's really, really slim picking. Sometimes I find absolutely nothing. Sometimes I'll just pick up this one sealed Xbox 360 game for £1. Game I've never heard of, sadly isn't worth very much, but it is sealed and it is just £1. So heading over to the DVD shelves, and if you did not know, as well as enjoying my metal, I also enjoy my punk rock and NoFX, well, one of my very favourite punk bands of all time. But even better, all DVDs in the recycling centre are just 10p each, which for 10p, you can't pass it up. It's a great way to build a collection or pick up films such as The Fourth Kind, an absolutely underrated gem that I don't think is on any streaming websites. Much like every other charity shop, the recycling centre is all about luck. Some days you'll go in and find everything, sometimes you'll go in and find absolutely nothing, and in this case, literally nothing, an empty case. But onwards and upwards, let's hit some charity shops. Here we go then, first charity shop in Wyndham, and this charity shop as a rule never has any video games, so I guess that's why they've just stuck them all into this basket here, and the only way to really know what's in here is to dig in. So we've got some classic Xbox 360 games, some DS games, and essentially the kind of stuff you're normally going to see in the charity shop. These are all the kind of games you could pick up in CX for £1 or less, or just from any carboot under the sun. But it's the thing when you're hunting in charity shops, it is mainly going to be filler titles that people have realised they can't really trade in for much or just don't really want. And at the end of the day, you have to kind of go through these baskets, just literally go through all the games and make sure you're not missing any hidden gold. Next charity shop, and hiding here in the kids section, is a DVD box set that I've traded in before after finding it in the Carboots. It is this one, the Joe 90 Complete Collection. So this trades in fairly well. I could pick this up for £2.50 and easily double my money in CX trading credit. When you do pick up these box sets though, do make sure all the discs are in there, as there is nothing worse than taking one of these to the till and then discovering you've got a disc missing. But yeah, keep an eye out for this one. I see it fairly often. It's an easy trade in. Now here is something I've never seen in a charity shop before, a Sega Mega Drive, hiding at the bottom of this glass cabinet, absolutely covered in stuff, very easy to miss, but 50 quid for this Mega Drive with no games. Let me know in the comments down below, would you pick up this Mega Drive for 50 quid? Another thing which I very rarely see in charity shops anymore is big box PC games. Now, I do like Star Trek, not as much as Star Wars though, but I think this was quite expensive. $7.99 for a big box PC game. Yes, I know it's not exactly overtly expensive, but it's not the most desirable title for myself. Heading over to the shelf of all the DVDs and games, you can see the games are right up here on the top shelf, and we have some Xbox One games. So we have Watch Dogs, but this was really overpriced. You know, this isn't an expensive game, and this is something that happens in charity shops. They just see it's for the newest console and they charge a little bit more, which is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, they're trying to make as much money as they can. At the other end of the shop, hiding again on a top shelf, was these Jurassic World toys. Now, if you do not know, I am still also a collector of retro and modern toys, and I am an absolute mega fan of the entire Jurassic franchise. These were all like priced between £3 and £5, and for that price, yeah, I'm going to pick these up. I do like the Jurassic World figures. These were my favourite toys when I was younger. I know these are newer ones, but I love them all. I think some of these are just so good nowadays. Don't get me wrong, some of the modern figures are a little bit hit and miss, and I will always prefer the absolute classic original OG Jurassic Park 93 figures, but these are super cool. And for like just over a tenner for the 3 of these, I do have a couple of T-Rexes already. I am quite tempted to leave this one behind because at the end of the day, you know, I only have so much room in the games room. But as I said, just over £10 for 3 of these Jurassic World toys. Yes, I'm going to pick them up. Yes, I'm going to give them a home. I love Jurassic Park. We're on to our final charity shop, and this is something you hate to see in a charity shop, a sign saying what games they've had in the past. They did have 7 Days to Die for £8. I remember this game being a lot more expensive in the past. Unfortunately, I did miss it. There was an incredibly large amount of Sims add-on content packs in here. I know there's somebody who commented on one of my videos saying they collected these. So if there's any you see and that was you, please let me know. And I can always go back and pick these up. Hiding at the back there was that incredible Terminator 2 VHS box set. And here was a small selection of games. Now, one problem with most of the charity shops, it seems, in Wyndham is I have no phone signal. I've never seen this PlayStation 3 game before. It was £5 and I did pass on it. Upon checking, I'm glad I did pass for £5. Whenever I'm hunting in charity shops, I always like to keep the wife sweet by picking something up for her. She is a massive collector of vintage Simpsons merchandise. This is like a pretty retro bar. I don't know a lot of the market value on these, but for £8, yes, I think I'll pick this up, and hopefully it'll put me in the good books, and for £8, it's well worth it. I was actually on the way out of the charity shop when I spotted this out of the corner of my eye, this Xbox 360 bundle. Now, they were selling this as a bundle. It had the Xbox 360 console and this massive box of controllers, and I didn't really know what to do about this. I wasn't really too intrigued, but then I realised it was the limited edition Halo Reach edition of the Xbox 360, and it had the Halo Reach controller with it. Now, £60 is still quite a high price for this console, and I had no idea if this worked. They said it had been pat tested, but they hadn't tested any of the controllers. But they did say they would sell any of the controllers separate, and I do always need more Xbox 360 controllers, and I think these are going to get harder and harder to find. Now, I'm not so interested in the third-party ones. I was interested in this console, but probably not at £60 and not knowing if it had been tested fully. But this is not the end of the story. Stay tuned. After the pickups, I'm going to go a little bit more into this Xbox 360. Here we are then, back in the games room, and it goes to show, even in your local area, even if you've been hunting here for years, you never know what you're going to find. And that is what I love about game hunting. You never know what to expect. Sadly, the midweek carboot was a bit of a washout. This was probably due to the weather and also due to it being very early in the season. And in my area, the Wednesday carboot is never as popular as the Sunday carboot. But fear not, I did manage to pick up some pretty interesting bits for the collection. First off, we have these Xbox 360 demos. This one with Colin McRae Durr, Armored Core 4, and a couple of other games. I did pick up a couple of the Call of Duty games as well, but I have already traded them in. These demos are pretty cool. I kind of like the fact they are in these kind of slimmer cases, and I never really read Xbox 360 magazine, but I love the OG Xbox demos. So you had to pick these up. I think these were like 50p each. It's pretty cool for the collection. Next up, you saw I built a little bit of a bundle, and this is always good advice. When you're at a car boot, try and build a bundle. So the first thing I picked up was a couple of Wii games. I traded some in, but I've kept this game, Spider-Man Friend or Foe, for the collection. So this actually has Wii exclusive motion controls. It looks fairly interesting. I didn't really know how much this game was value-wise, but I think the Xbox 360 version is a lot more expensive. But this is just the first thing I picked up in a very, very interesting bundle. The next item I got in this bundle was this Power A controller for the Nintendo Switch. Now this is actually a wired controller. It didn't come with the wire. They weren't sure if it was working, so I just added it as part of the bundle. Now, as a general rule of thumb, I will not pick up controllers at Carboots unless I know they're working. Say like an Xbox 360 one, if it has batteries in, you can see it powered up. But as this was part of the bundle, I thought I'd take a risk. So let's see if this works. I've got the Switch all turned on here. I've got a wire in here which does work with this controller, and we're going to see if it works. So the problem seems to be with the D-pad is it seems to be locked in one position. So wherever I move, it kind of just flicks back to the left. I know we always joke about stick drift with a Switch, but who would have thought it with a controller for the car boot? Of course, there may be a simple way to fix this controller. If you do know how to stop the stick drift on a Power A controller, please let me know in the comments down below. Regardless, this was part of a bundle. It was a bit of a gamble, but at the end of the day, it's a cool looking controller. But the start of this bundle is without a doubt this little beauty here, the Retron HD from Hyperkin. This thing is absolutely incredible. You can connect this via HDMI or component to your modern or retro TV and play either PAL or NSTC NES games with the flick of a switch. I got this entire bundle for £15. Yes, this is tested. Yes, this is working. Yes, this is fantastic. It's not very often I would play NES games on a big 72-inch 4K television, but this is also fantastic for streaming. And I've been looking for a way to stream some of these old school NES games for quite a while, and this could be the way right here. Also, of course, it comes with this absolutely fantastic controller. It is essentially the same as the classic NES controller, but it's just new, it's fresh. The controls are really, really tight on this console. For 15 quid, this is an absolute bargain, and it goes to show, sometimes it pays to gamble at the car boot. Which of course leads us to the question, is it worth going to the car boots midweek? Yes, of course it is, because you never know. This is the problem with the car boots. You can go on any given day and find nothing, or you can go on any given day and find absolutely everything. And that bundle for 15 quid is one of the best finds of the car boot season so far this year. Moving on from the car boots, I headed to a new recycling centre in my city. That's because we have a North recycling centre and a South recycling centre here in the fine city of Norwich. Now, I didn't have too much luck in the North Recycling Centre. It was my first time there. I have been twice in this video, and the only game I managed to pick up is this Resident Evil 5 Gold Edition for the Xbox 360. And you can see here it includes all the DLC. Or does it? This is the problem with a lot of these kind of Game of the Year games or complete games for the Xbox 360 and of course the PlayStation 3. A lot of the DLC for these games is exactly that. DLC. You have to go online, use a code and download the add-ons. But of course this is a game all the way back from, prepare to feel very old, in 3, 2, 1, 2010. This is a 13-year-old game, and yes, the DLC is long since delisted. So, the only way to play the DLC for this game off the disc is to pick up the PlayStation 3 version. This has all the DLC on the disc. This is exactly what I did. I went on eBay, grabbed this copy because the DLCs for this, whilst not the greatest Resident Evil content, they are really, really worth playing. And if you want a complete experience, the only way to do that is with this Gold Edition on the PlayStation 3. Sorry, Xbox gamers. But fear not, I had more luck at the Norwich South Recycling Centre, as it is my local one. I head there most days after or before work. I am absolutely obsessed. I head there all the time. They have DVDs for 10 for £1 or 10p each, obviously. And the first film I picked up, it's not actually a film per se, it is NoFX 10 Years of Up. And if you did not know already, I'm a massive punk rock fan, and this has so many absolutely incredible NoFX music videos. The thing is, NoFX are calling it a year this year after about 100 years as a punk rock band. So this is an absolutely fantastic reminder of a band I've seen countless times. When it comes to looking for DVDs in charity shops, there's one genre of film that I'll always look for more than others, and that is horror films, because more often than not, a lot of these horror films just disappear from streaming websites. And this is a horror film that has stuck with me since I very first saw it. It is The Fourth Kind, starring Mila Jovovich, or however you pronounce her name, from the Resident Evil films, which I know a lot of people hate, but I kind of enjoy. But this is definitely not a Resident Evil film. This is about alien encounters. This is a mix of reenactment and real life footage, and it's pretty messed up. The ending of this film is pretty disturbing, and yeah, I definitely recommend picking this up, especially for 10p. Without a shadow of a doubt, the best thing about the Recycling Centre is, regardless of console or rarity, every video game they have is £1. So let's start off with the first game we have here in this veritable bundle. Sadly, it is a fail. It is Bust a Move for the Wii. You may be wondering, why is that a fail? That's because inside we have The Wizard of Oz. This is why you always check your discs. Absolute rookie mistake. But onwards and upwards. Next up we have Hysteria Hospital Emergency Ward. Now, I have no idea what this game was, but it was £1, and it actually looks like a spiritual successor before we had 2 Point Hospital to Theme Hospital, and for £1, this is the kind of Wii game that I'll take a risk on. Next up we have another absolutely classic game on the Wii. I just like some of these games because they use the motion controls very well. It is Cooking Mama 2 World Kitchen. If nothing else, it is hilarious playing this game with the motion controls. Next up, we're moving on to some PlayStation 2 games. And again, if it's a PlayStation 2 game that looks reasonable, I need for my collection for £1, I'll pick up. So first off, we have Lego Star Wars, the video game, still one of my favourite co-op games of all time. Then we have a game that, I don't want to use the word hidden gem, but just severely weird game, and that is Dog's Life for the PlayStation 2. This is an incredibly odd game where you essentially are a dog and you can do everything a dog does, from like peeing and pooing on stuff. It is incredibly weird, and it just shows the width and breadth of games on the PlayStation 2. This is a real oddity, and one I'm really happy to find cheap in a charity shop. And lastly, we have a game, I have no idea if this is good, I have no idea if this is valuable. Home Alone for the PlayStation 2, made by Blast Games, which isn't exactly screaming quality to me. I'm sure this is one of the many shovelware games released on the PlayStation 2, but I'm a huge fan of the first 2 Home Alone films, and yeah, definitely wanted to check this one out for £1. Like I said, regardless, every video game is £1. I did pick up this copy of Leela for the Xbox 360 Connect. I have no idea, but this is brand new and just about sealed. It's pretty much worthless, but it's still cool to find a sealed Xbox 360 game in 2023. Finally, this time we were hitting up the charity shops in my local market town of Wyndham. And if you didn't know by now, I am a massive fan of the Jurassic franchise. From seeing Jurassic Park back in the cinemas in 1993, to watching the latest films in the cinemas, to watching the kids kids TV show on Netflix. I absolutely love the Jurassic franchise. I love collecting the toys, both the modern and the retro ones. So when I saw these Jurassic World toys in my local charity shop, I couldn't pass them up. The first one we have here is Massive Bitus Surosaurus or something. This one was just $3.99. I just love the fact these have like a decent amount of play in them. Like you wobble the tail, it goes. You can click the button and it bites its jaws. Now some of these are surprisingly expensive. The listings for this toy on Amazon are kind of eye-watering. But as a collector of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World franchise, this one is staying firmly in my collection. It's just the first of 3 dinosaurs to add to the park. Next up we have the Carnosaurus, or Toro as it was called in Camp Cretaceous. This is actually a toy I've been looking for a long while. It was $4.99 and this is without a doubt the star of Camp Cretaceous. It has one of my favourite actions as well. It has an absolutely fantastic sound effects built in. You move the tail, it moves the head. It's definitely one of my favourite recent Jurassic World figures they've ever released. Lastly, I could not leave behind the absolute queen of the Jurassic Park franchise, this incredible T-Rex figure. This one was $3.99, and whilst I'm not exactly sold by the neck on this one, the tail does move, and it does have one of the best biting actions of any Jurassic toy of recent years. And at the end of the day, can you really have enough T-Rexes? We're on to our final pickup of the week, and right at the end of the hunt I stumbled across that Halo Reach console, and as I said, I was offered all of the controllers for £5 each as it had been sat on the shelf for a long while. So of course I had to grab this limited edition Halo Reach controller. I already have one of these in the collection. It is an absolutely amazing design, but here's the thing, when I got to the desk to pay for this controller, we got talking. They said this had been sat on a shelf for absolute ages and they were thinking about reducing the price. Now when I hear they're going to reduce the price, it piques my interest. So originally that bundle, so all the controllers and the console, which has been tested, was £60. They were going to reduce it to £30. So I ask you, what would you do? It seems to me the answer is obvious. Yes, I had to pick up another limited edition Xbox. This is the Halo Reach edition of the Xbox 360, and this is a thing of absolute beauty. Around this time, Microsoft were absolutely hitting it out of the park with some of these limited edition consoles. I already have the Star Wars version of this, the Gears of War 3 version, and now I have the Halo Reach version. And the hardest thing is with these consoles is getting the matching controllers. And I already have one of these Halo Reach controllers, which I managed to pick up off Facebook Marketplace years ago. So I have this with both of the controllers, but that's not all with this bundle. There was also some other fantastic controllers thrown in. First off with this bundle, we got this frankly quite horrible looking Joytech wired controller. It's a little bit faded, it just looks a little bit weird, but at the end of the day, it's a bonus controller we can either keep for the collection or trade into CX. Next up, we have an official wired controller. And the thing is, correct me if I'm wrong, these are controllers you can plug into your PC. Again, this one is a little bit faded. It does look on the back like the serial number is disappeared, so I won't be able to trade this one into CX. But as I said, Xbox 360 controllers in the next few years are going to get harder and harder to get. So now I think it's a good time to stockpile them. Finally, we have the standard black Xbox 360 controller. This one again is a little bit worse, where you can see someone's tried to eat one of the thumbsticks, but herein lies the problem with these controllers. Each of these, I didn't really check this in store because I wasn't expected to pick up the entire bundle. It was near closing time. Because I got a bundle price, I thought I'd take the risk. I know the console works, but some of these controllers do have a little bit of kind of rust on the components here. But I'm sure somebody in the comments below will be able to tell me how I can get this rust off these component parts. I was quite tempted to trade these into CX, but for the hassle I'll probably keep them in my collection because, as I said, it's going to get harder to get Xbox 360 controllers in the next few years, so I might as well keep them now while I got them cheap. So there we have it, that was this week's live game hunt, and it just goes to show you do not have to travel the length and breadth of the country to find a bargain. Sometimes they can be hidden in your backyard, and I'm absolutely pumped to add not one but 2 awesome consoles to my collection, as well as an entire Jurassic Park full of dinosaurs. But let me know, what is your favourite item you've picked up locally in your local charity shops or car boots so far this year? I hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you have, hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, keep playing the game. See you all soon.